Okay, well look, good afternoon everybody. My name is Aubrey Layne. I'm the Secretary of Transportation here for the great Commonwealth of Virginia. So Happy New Year everybody. We've got a lot to do, and as evidenced by you being here today and across the state, you're willing to do it. So thank you very much. This is the first of several outreach opportunities for the development and implementation of House Bill 2, significant legislation that was signed by Governor McAuliffe but was bipartisan, led by the Speaker of the House, that will significantly change how projects are allocated, funding for projects are allocated across the Commonwealth. So very important that you're here today. If we get this right, we can really do a good service for many of our citizens here across the Commonwealth. The purpose of this workshop is to encourage you and engage you and get your input on the development of the process that will be used to score these transportation projects by the Commonwealth Transportation Board. Now, all of you, we sent out to you a survey, and this is what you told us. You want to be involved and informed about the process. You want regional meetings, so that's what we're about today. In fact, I was at a transportation meeting a while back, and it was suggested that we were having so many meetings. I think that we had 18 public hearings already and outreach across the state. It was suggested that possibly we're having so many of these meetings is because we were confused. Quite the opposite. We're often criticized because we don't have a lot of public output. We want to make sure we hear all that we can from across the state to make this bill work and act as well as it possibly can. So from Richmond via this webinar, we're able to broadcast this statewide with other transportation officials which are gathered here in this room and across the state. Shortly you will be able to share your ideas and suggestions on the scoring process. And we do definitely need your input to make this process a success, and it's critical that we hear from you. And I really mean that. That's why we're having so many of these outreach meetings. Now, there are a couple of misunderstandings about House Bill 2 that I just want to hit head on. The purpose of House Bill 2 is to give the Commonwealth Transportation Board, which I chair as the Secretary of Transportation, an objective and hopefully consistent process across the state to help the CTB allocate monies to various projects and to various districts. It is not intended to guarantee nor hinder getting money to a particular district. It is giving the Commonwealth Transportation Board a tool that should be more transparent, and you as citizens and stakeholders should see how this scoring works and hold the CTB accountable if in fact it chooses to fund a project that is scored lower. You probably want to know why. That's the purpose of this. It doesn't change a single thing about how the CTB does its work. And I want to make this very, very clear. At the end of the day, the Commonwealth Transportation Board still will make the allocations. It's just hopefully they will have objective measures to give them better information on. Now, I've served on the Commonwealth Transportation Board for 5 years becoming secretary. And during that time, we went through a time where we had very limited state resources, and thank goodness we've got House Bill 2313 and we've got a little bit more. But we don't have enough to do every project across the Commonwealth. And the intent of us working with lawmakers on this bill is to make sure we are the best stewards of transportation dollars in the Commonwealth. And that's for the reason for the scoring. It's not to prejudice nor hinder getting a project. It's to make sure we get the best projects funded next in line, or if we don't, for the CTB to explain why they chose not to. So I just want to make that absolutely clear. This has nothing to do with formulas or anything else. It is simply helping the CTB to do a better job. It's about investing those limited tax dollars in the right projects that meet the most critical transportation needs in Virginia. We hope we'll bring the conversations to the Commonwealth Transportation Board back to what are the transportation needs, what are we trying to accomplish, not about politics. And I'm not suggesting to you that politics is bad, but I am suggesting that with limited resources, we should focus on those transportation needs and when we consider that being the most important, the biggest bang, and being good fiduciaries to our citizens. Governor McAuliffe, as I said, signed the bill, House Bill 2 last year. It directs the CTB to use this process for project selection starting in July 1st of 2016. And once the projects are scored, the CTB will have the information that they need to make the best possible decisions. The factors behind the scoring are congestion mitigation, and in fact the law requires in the urban region of Northern Virginia that congestion mitigation be the most heavily weighted factor. Economic development, accessibility, safety, and environmental quality, and land use and transportation coordination are all factors to be considered when we score these projects. And each of these factors should have a series of measures that we need your thoughts on. How do we score those? What does congestion mitigation mean in the different areas? What does economic development mean? That's really what we're talking about today. So between now and March, we will have more outreach opportunities for local and regional transportation officials. Your ideas are important to us, and we hope to have a draft process that will be presented to the CTB in March. Then there will be more outreach between March and June on the draft scoring process. This will again include public meetings. The board will approve the final scoring process in June of 2015, and you'll hear about more of that schedule today. Because in June of 2015, we'll be setting a new 6-year plan, and so we'll be preparing for the year from now when we must use this process. We want to have plenty of time to see that it's giving us the right results or the appropriate results that everyone expects from this. House Bill 2 is significant because, again, for the first time, that the law requires that projects be scored consistently. And the goal is to minimize as much as we can those things that take us away the purpose and need of these transportation projects. I should also mention House Bill 2 makes us look at return on investment, and that's a big part. And I think a lot of areas where your costs are low, and for instance, in right-of-way acquisition, you may find that those projects are much scored better because of their return on investment. Hopefully, the law will improve transparency and accountability, again, because the public will know on a consistent basis. And a lot of people say, well, how do you know if it really should be 85 or 90 if it tends to be 1 to 100? That's not the key. The key is if it's consistent over a period of time and the public knows how it works, then we'll know if one is scored higher or lower, if there's a difference and we choose the lower one, why did we do that? I try to liken it to, I used to play baseball. And if you play baseball, the strike zone is supposed to be from the bottom of your arm pushed to the top of your kneecaps. But I can tell you, I've played many games where that wasn't the strike zone. But it didn't take but one time at bat to determine what this umpire's strike zone was. That's the key to getting House Bill 2. Once we know what the strike zone is, it's not so much that we get it absolutely right, but we get it consistently right, that we're scoring consistently so we know how we're trending. So I wouldn't focus so much on the absolute score as how it compares to other projects. That's really the purpose of House Bill 2. Now, the funding situation that we face is concerning. Since we've taken office in January of this year, Governor McAuliffe came in, we've had to reduce our estimates for revenues in transportation by $1 billion. A lot of that has to do with what we enjoy today as the lowest gas prices that we've had, what, in a decade, probably a decade. And my guess is that we haven't seen the bottom. And so also we face an uncertainty at the federal level with the Transportation Trust Fund. And hopefully Congress will act on that. But you know, this year we went through a period where we thought, I see the chief engineer over there, Garrett Moore, where we thought we were going to have to reduce the reimbursements coming from the feds, and what was that going to do to our program. So it is even more prudent now that we are good stewards and make good decisions in selecting these projects. That's really a big liability or a privilege, however you want to see it, put on the CTB to make sure we're using these monies wisely. And hopefully if we get this prioritization in place, we will change the face, as I said before, and really have a consistent, dependable program so that when you see in your locality or your district a program is on there or a project's on there, it stays there and it gets funded all the way through. I can't tell you how many people I've talked with personally around this table and across the state, and when I was a CTB member, I finally got funding for my project, and then the next cycle came around, it was gone. Hopefully House Bill 2 will eliminate that. It will help VDOT deliver a more consistent project, and we'll have more stability. So we understand, too, that presently, I started out talking about the formulas, we understand that no money is currently going to the districts. So again, that's why it's even more through the formulas, I should say. There's plenty of money going through projects, but through the formulas. That's why it's even more important that we make objective decisions on allocating these transportation projects. I can tell you, I can think of nothing else as the chairman of the CTB I could do more important than get this right. And it really is going to come down to your input. And I really appreciate all the time and effort that you guys are putting into this today and across, and you've done in the past. I tell you, I've told our staff when we started this, I expected two things. One, it was going to be a very loud process, and it has been as we go work through this, but nothing that I think deserves merit isn't loud. And my guess is we may not get it right exactly the first time. And if we don't, we'll continue on until we do get it right and hearing from you. Because this is too important not to take seriously and move on. So you can get the commitment from my secretariat, from the agencies here. We want to hear from you. We want to do this right. So thank you all for having me come here today. I appreciate, again, very much all the work you're going to be doing on this. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tom Harrington. And thank you again for letting me to be here today.